Hi, I'm Alex from Mini Cannon Tech, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to fire your Reenactor 2 mini cannon. Now this video is specifically for the Reenactor 2. The process to fire all of our mini cannons is approximately the same, however this video is specifically for the Reenactor 2 because of the amount of powder and that sort of thing. I need to make it very clear that this video is not a substitution for the written instructions that come with your cannon. You need to read through and understand the written instructions completely before trying to fire your cannon. So first I'm going to go through the materials you're going to need, and then I'll go step by step on how to actually fire your cannon. Alright, first thing on the list, most important, safety glasses. You need to have yourself a good pair of safety glasses. You're going to need black powder. The black powder that comes in the firing kit that we sell is great. It's a 3F black powder substitute. You'll need to use black powder or a black powder substitute. You cannot use smokeless powders. You're going to need a ramrod. Now the ramrod comes with your cannon. You're going to need a gimlet. The gimlet comes in the firing kit. This is used for cleaning out the vent in between shots. You're going to need a cotton swab, or several of them, or Q-tips. You're going to need paper towel for wadding. You're going to need a cannon fuse, or sections of one. I've already cut these up, ready to go. You're going to need a small funnel or a folded piece of paper. I just use the firing instructions. That works great. You can use the crease and the firing instructions that come with the cannon. You're going to need a projectile. These are actually optional. These are 25 caliber lead balls. These come in the 25 caliber firing kit that we sell. These work great. Now you do not have to fire a projectile if you do not want to. You can simply fire a blank. In the instructions it explains which steps to skip if you only want to fire a blank, and that's fine. You're going to need a fire starter. That's the last thing. Okay, step one. You're going to need to put on your safety glasses. Next you're going to make sure that the bore of your cannon is completely clean. The best way to do that is take cotton swab, like so, and insert that into the muzzle, give it a couple twists, and extract it, and examine the tip of the Q-tip, see if there's any debris on there. There's a little bit on there, so I'm going to run it out of there again. That's pretty clean there. You're going to take your gimlet, insert that into the fuse hole, or the vent, give it a couple twists, and you're not going to push on it, just kind of give it a couple twists to make sure it's all clear. You can go ahead and run your Q-tip down in there again. Okay, and we're all clear. Now step two. Now this is very important that you do this before putting the powder into the cannon. You have to take your piece of fuse. It helps if you have some good sharp scissors to cut your fuse segments. You're going to insert that into the vent of the cannon. Now you want to make sure that the fuse is actually all the way down into the bore, sticking into the bore of the cannon, and not just a little bit in there. It needs to be all the way down into the bore back here. And the way you can check that is you take your ramrod, insert down into the muzzle, and see if I just lightly insert that in there, you can see the fuse moving. That means that the fuse is all the way into the bore and seated properly. Step 3, you're going to measure out your powder. Now, in the instructions it says to measure out 10 grains. Grains is a measurement for weighing powders. It's a weight. Most powder measures use volume. That's okay, it'll get you close enough. Now this isn't an exact science, you just need to be pretty close. So the best way to do that, I'll show you here. Take your instructions, take your powder here. A little closer so you can see. Just take your powder and you're going to pour out about 2 pea-sized amounts of powder. That's about good. You don't need to make it exact, but something close to this. As you fire it more and more and get experienced, you'll learn about how much powder is good. Now what you can do is if you have a scale, some scales actually measure out grains. You can use that to measure out 10 grains of powder. You can also use a .22 long rifle casing, and those scoop approximately about 5 grains, so you could use 2 scoops of that. So what you're going to do, take that. If you have a funnel, that would work great too, but folded piece of paper works good. You just take your powder, And tip your cannon barrel up like that, and just pour powder right down to the muzzle. Couple taps, make sure it's all down in there. What you can do to double check that you have the right amount of powder in your cannon, you can take your ramrod, and as you have it tipped up like this so that the powder is level, take your ramrod, insert, just kind of drop it down in there. Wherever it lands, just take your finger, mark where the ramrod is, extract it, and then put it back up against the muzzle here on the outside. You can see that the bottom of the ramrod is past the fuse here, and it's behind, or in this case underneath the trunnions. The trunnions are the two pivots either side here. So as long as your powder level is somewhere in here, you're good to go. And as you experiment and use different amounts of powder, you'll see what works best for your type of ammo. Weather can even affect it, that sort of thing. But as long as you're in this range, you're good to go. Our next thing you're going to do is take your paper towel. You're going to tear off a little piece for wadding. Usually a little bit bigger than the size of a quarter. Works good for the 25 caliber cannons. So about like that. And just roll it into a little ball, like so. And just push that down to the muzzle here, and take your ramrod, and you want to push that down up against the powder. Now you don't want to pack it or pound it in there. You just want to push that piece of wadding into the powder so it collapses all the powder and keeps it all in one place. If you compact the powder, that can become dangerous or even prevent the cannon from firing at all. So just use the wadding just to push all the powder into the back there, and that's all you need to do. Next step, you're going to take your cannonball, just one cannonball, and drop that right on top of the powder there. Now it helps to sometimes tip your barrel back here so the cannonball doesn't roll out on you. And take another little piece of wadding, just a little piece like that. It doesn't have to fit tightly in there. I just do this just to keep the cannonball from rolling out or falling out when you're trying to set up your cannon to actually fire. So there you go. Okay, next step, you're going to need to find a suitable target to shoot your mini cannon at. Now it's important that your target is not a hard material or something that could be easily penetrated and the cannonball travel through. A pile of dirt or something, or a big thick piece of plywood, something like that, that will absorb the cannonball and prevent ricochets. So just use common sense and be careful. You want to be careful that you have something to prevent your cannon from rolling off the back of the table. The edge of the table is just right here, so I'm going to try to prevent the cannon from rolling off, because they will recoil some distance. Now you don't want to try to hold the cannon down or tape it down or anything like that. These are designed to recoil just like a real cannon, to prevent stresses on the carriage from damaging it. So just make sure you have something to stop it, or a long table, or do it on the ground, something like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fire here. Let everybody around you know that you're about to shoot a cannon, and make sure that your downrange is clear. So go ahead and stand back. Make sure that no part of your body is above the fuse and out of the way. So go ahead and take your lighter. Light the fuse. There you go. You can see that was a lighter load. You'll be able to tell about how much powder you used, or about how powerful your shots are going to be, by how much they recoil. So that one only recoiled a few inches. Now if you use more powder, you'll be able to tell just how powerful it was by how much the cannon recoiled. Okay, now before you fire again, you need to make sure that the cannon is properly cleaned before each shot, and you have to do this in between every single shot. So what you want to do is you want to take your gimlet, clean it out. Now this is basically step one again. So if you're reading through your instructions, you'll notice that it'll say start from step one to fire again. So this is basically step one, where you clean out your cannon. But at the end, if that was your last shot, you want to make sure you go ahead and do this again anyways, because the black powder residue is very corrosive and can start to corrode your cannon, even if it is brass, stainless steel, whatever material you happen to have. So you just want to make sure it gets good and clean, just like that. And there you go. That is how to fire your Reenactor 2 miniature cannon. If you have any questions, please send us an email to service@minicanontech.com or go ahead and give us a call. Thanks for watching. Okay, for demonstration purposes here, I'm going to show you what it looks like when you fire exactly 10 grains of 3F powder here. I'm using a black powder substitute. This stuff works pretty good. This is the Hodgdon 777. Very similar to what we sell in our firing kits. You know, this works great. So I'm measuring out exactly 10 grains of powder here. Now, like I said, as long as you're close to this amount, you will get a very similar amount of power. The last shot I did was significantly less than 10 grains. So this is what 10 grains of powder will actually look like here. Another good point, make sure that your black powder container is closed, sealed, and put off to the side before you fire. If any sparks land in your powder container, that could be very bad. There you go. That had a bit more punch to it.